Okay, so you're either going to find this next story either hilarious or sad. I don't even know how to intro it. And me and Jason were arguing for the past 15 minutes whether this is satire or not. But this is a Newsweek article coming from an NPR report with the title and headline saying elderly Americans are dying without getting to read Mueller's report, and they're not happy about it. I mean, absolutely astonishing, the level of disinformation, Jason, the level of propaganda, the level of just craziness in this entire case. Because if you guys remember, we've been calling out this whole Russian collusion scam from the very beginning. And the few people, especially independent media, that were calling out this Russian collusion that was being called out as soon as Donald Trump was elected, they were automatically called fake news. The Washington Post even published a whole dossier, a whole document calling us Russian propaganda, and all of that, of course, fell flat on its face. And we've been calling this a lie. We didn't have to interview Fyodor Emelianenko. We didn't have to interview Stormy Daniels to find this out. It was pretty clear, Jason, from the very beginning, the onset of this investigation about Donald Trump allegedly colluding with Russia to destroy our democracy, that this was all a bigger political power play. And this is what all the analysts are now saying. This is what everyone's looking at. But there's still this big delusional aspect that the mainstream media created that believe that there's some kind of Russian collusion, which is absolutely crazy. And I think, Jason, this kind of makes sense because a lot of these elderly people come from the Cold War, where they literally had to hide underneath their desks because of incoming alleged nuclear bombs from the Russians, with the nuclear drills that they had and the fear mongering during the Cold War that was established by the government, that was pushed by the mainstream media, that was absolutely crazy. So it does make sense that this is absolutely not satire at all, Jason.
Unfortunately, Luke, it is not satire, and I looked at this, I couldn't believe it. Like, when I saw it, I saw it in my Twitter feed, folks. So, James Woods, kind of a controversial character. I know everybody's not a fan, but he tweets out, "How can the Newsweek site have been hacked? This must be satire, dot, 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 question mark." And then I scroll down and I look at it, and it's checkmark Newsweek, and it says elderly Americans are dying without getting to read Mueller's report, and they're not happy about it. So I'm going to just pull it back for a second. I'm going to say to myself, wait a minute. If I'm on my deathbed, I'm probably pretty worried about my kids' welfare, what's going to happen to my spouse if they're still around, my grandkids, the estate, some existential stuff like, where am I going? I'm worried about things. You know what I'm not worried about? The Mueller report.
This just shows you the fervor, the absolute propaganda and disinformation that they're able to instill in people's minds, because obviously everyone's talking about this, and it's going to come out very soon. Everyone was even speculating that it was going to come out 3 weeks ago, and everyone's saying there's absolutely no Russian collusion, which is what we've been saying. Because if you look at the charges, you look at the indictments, everyone's going down around Trump for tax evasion, lying to the FBI, lying to Congress. Again, misstatements, getting caught up, getting tripped up by one of the most powerful agencies, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, that is delving into this with every minutia, every detail. And again, the charges here are nothing to do with Russian collusion. If anything, they proved collusion with Jared Kushner in Israel that forced Michael Flynn to collude for Israel, trying to get Russia to vote in favor of Israel in the UN General Assembly. That's what it proved. It didn't prove Russian collusion. It didn't prove this Kremlin attack on our democracy. And this is going to be, Jason, a huge reckoning. This is going to be, I mean, people are already, figuratively making the popcorn for this show when this report comes out. And then the reckoning of the deep state and the mainstream media just being totally wrong, with all the people who sadly fell for their bigger lie also reckoning with this. Now, Jason, what else do you have to say about this? And can you read some of the cases? Because you were telling me about some of the cases, and this is absolute insanity about the particular cases that you told me about.
Yeah, so if you check out their action, they tweeted this out. It wasn't just a Newsweek article. Okay, so here it is. It's a real headline, real check mark, and you go to the actual article. Now, it's pretty short and it has their own little spin in it, but it's It's just mind-boggling. World War II veteran Mitchell Tendler, a man who survived numerous historic milestones, including the Korean War, Vietnam, Watergate, and President Bill Clinton's impeachment, fell sick on December 29th at 93 years old, reported by NPR. And we're going to get to the actual NPR article because if you think I'm laying it on thick here, I'm not. All right, I'm not. The NPR article even goes crazier than this one, and I'm not trying to, laugh at somebody in their last throes of life, but the way that this sounds is absolutely crazy. So Tendler's with his son. I want to skip forward, and this is what his son says. It was quiet for a little while, Walter Tendler told the news outlet, and then he just sits up in a bed halfway and looks at me and he goes, "Shit, I'm not going to see the Mueller report, am I?" And that was really the last coherent thing that he said. Now, mind blown that the last coherent thing a man would say is something about the Mueller report when we know that there isn't going to be anything about Russian collusion, and that's why there's been this pivot to the talking points of obstruction and impeachment through that, but that's a whole nother story. So then, they go on to other people that told NPR. Richard Armstrong, 94, currently in hospice in New Jersey, related his sentiments and said, "I know exactly how he feels. I feel the same way. I've been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I was hoping to live to see the outcome of what I think should be justice. I'll be surprised and disappointed if it isn't." Well, get ready for the disappointment, and sir, I hope you do get to see it. I'm certainly, even at 94 years old, not wishing you to die of pancreatic cancer. But let's get to that NPR article. So the first thing that this is based on is actually a tweet. Oh, I guess the ad blocker blocks it out. But it's a verified account. It's by a man from the Brookings Institute, Benjamin Witt. So everybody can go check that out. But this tweet... Again, verified account, Brookings Institute, pushing this propaganda that Mueller is some kind of hero. Look, I'm going to say it again. Robert Mueller pushed weapons of mass destruction in Iraq to put us in war there. We are still in war there. Robert Mueller covered up the 9/11 financiers, from the Saudi Arabians to the Pakistani ISI to much more, I promise you. And that is fact. There are whistleblowers like Robert Wright and others. We have the documents. This guy is no Boy Scout. He is no hero. He is part of the corrupt deep state establishment, Luke. And when I see propaganda like this promoted by NPR and Newsweek, who's actually done, they had Charlie Skelton's Bilderberg stuff this year. I was like, hey, all right, we've actually read a few Newsweek articles and they've been decent this year. When I see stuff like this, I'm like, we're in Onionville, baby. You might as well be the Onion.
I mean, Jason, how many people are going to get heart attacks when they actually do hear the final report and Robert Mueller being like, oh, yeah, there's no Russian collusion. Again, I just absolute lunacy. What this is going to be is just a huge waste of money and time and just a big diversion. And it's been used, again, this whole Russian collusion thing has been used to go against independent media. This is what started the trend of being deplatformed with supposedly these larger investigations about fake news and taking down people who are small independent media who don't shill for a bigger interest and saying, well, they're working with Russia to collude with them to hurt our democracy. No. The people working to hurt our democracy are the people lying, pushing for an agenda, just care about power no matter what. And sadly, innocent people like these elderly people are being wrapped up in it and caught up in it. But still, the delusion is still at a fever pitch among some people, especially Maxine Waters, who's still talking about impeachment. We need impeachment. We need impeachment about Russia. And even Nancy Pelosi came out just recently and was like, hey, no, that's not a good idea. Even facing the music herself, because, again, this is not only just a big distraction, but it's unfair to the American people being brought into this dirt, into this mud bath, into this, proverbial monkey poop slinging nonsense that's distracting from actual issues that do matter. There's actual things that Donald Trump does do that we should be very critical of, that we should highlight, that we should scrutinize, that we should hold his feet to the fire, but we're not, because people are having this crazy Russian delusion bull crap, when in reality, geopolitically, Russia and the United States are more at odds than they were even during the Barack Obama presidency. And this is from my geopolitical analysis and the very fact that there's so many instances Donald Trump has made a stand against Russia geopolitically, in Syria, with Iran, in Ukraine, with the European Union. I could go on and on and on and on about these cases, about this alternative universe that these crazy people live in. Jason, that's my take on it. Anything else you want to say about this particular issue?
Well, I think that, again, the narrative is simply just going to change. Just like in the very beginning when they were saying, hey, they rigged the election, and people were like, oh my God, Russia hacked the voting machines. Well, no, they didn't hack it that way. And then it was, well, Russia did hack the elections, and people were like, well, did they hack the DNC servers, or what's going on? And then they really couldn't prove that. And then they had to bring it to, well, there was this collusion between WikiLeaks, who we think were working with the Russians, and the GRU, who we think were the hackers, and we think all these media people are in on it too. We're going to start an investigation, when they had already started all these wiretaps prior to the election. But we were supposed to be like, oh, that's okay. There's so much information that's come out that this was targeted from the very, very beginning. We're already seeing preliminary impeachment inquiries filed. Al Green has said he will bring articles of impeachment to the floor. So I think we haven't heard the last of this. And Lord knows when we're going to see that Mueller report. Because if they're talking about people dying, it could be 3 months, 6 months. They've said it was going to be wrapping up in November, Luke. We're in mid-March, and it is not wrapped up, my friend.
Well, obviously, we saw a lot of people indicted for not Russian collusion, for not paying taxes and lying. That's all they got. That's all they had. And obviously, in Washington, D.C., you have a whole bunch of corrupt individuals. And if you had a thorough investigation on left-wing politicians, you would probably find the same amount of dirt as they're finding on Donald Trump. This is common. This is America. This is the dirty politics that we live in. And we're living in it because of people only caring about power and nothing else. And this is what this whole Russian investigation, this whole Russian collusion is, an absolute scam that sadly and also hilariously is affecting people like this. Let me know if you're laughing or crying in the comment section below. We always appreciate your feedback and appreciate you guys subscribing, clicking the notification button, and staying tuned for more content as we're going into overdrive, literally providing 4 videos a day now on our main channel and our backup channel. Without you, without your donations, without your support, we wouldn't be able to do this. And that's why I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/WeAreChange.